Have you ever met somebody and it's going great? This person is kind, they are consistent, they seem to be emotionally available. And as you continue to date this person, you find that instead of feeling excited, you might feel some excitement. You start feeling increasingly overwhelmed and you start realizing that the progression of being in relationship with this person, of bringing a new person into your life, starts to threaten and erode the sense of peace that you have worked so hard to create in your life. If you're new here, my name is Bethany Dotson. I am a somatic therapist and a trauma-informed coach, and I work with women who have experienced narcissistic abuse, whether in childhood or in a romantic relationship or marriage, and who deep down want a healthy partner, want to attract love, but find that they are stuck in the same patterns again and again, despite having years of therapy and logically knowing all there is to know about their own stuff. So I want to offer this challenge here, that if you've healed from narcissistic abuse, one of the definitions of healing that we hear and that we aspire to be is, I really want a peaceful life. I want to regain my sense of identity. I want to feel strong in myself. I never want to depend on anybody again. I want to feel at peace. I want to protect my peace. And these are the definitions of successful healing that most of us buy into. But what I really want to bring your attention to is that while yes, we do want to protect our peace, what I see more often than not, and what I have lived myself, is that protecting your peace starts to look like the very same coping strategies that you used inside of an abusive relationship. And that is control. We get into a relationship with somebody who's unavailable, who's avoidant, who has narcissistic tendencies, and we start to blame everything on them. They have control issues, blah, 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 blah. What we often don't realize is that we too have control issues. They present a little differently. So what happens is that when we protect our peace, after we leave a relationship, we get really good at protecting our peace, is that often this is really about setting your life up in a way where nothing can hurt you. And what I often experience in my practice, and what I've experienced myself personally, is that whenever you start setting your life up in a way where nobody can protect you, you create a life that feels miserable. It doesn't feel maybe as miserable as what you felt when you were with your ex. It's like a quiet misery. It's a quiet sense of unhappiness. And the worst part about it is that most of the time you look like you have it all going for you. You have a great career, you're successful on paper, like you've got a beautiful home, you take good care of yourself, you're mindful, you're conscientious, you do a lot of work on yourself. Like really you're a fucking package. But what happens is that underneath the mask that you're wearing in your life of being healed and protecting your peace is a woman who feels increasingly disconnected from happiness, from joy, from the passion for life that she used to have, the exuberance for life that she used to have. And so when we find that we're protecting our peace, what we're often doing is protecting ourselves from life. And when we protect ourselves from life happening and protect ourselves from, opening up to new experiences with people, new romantic connections, is that we don't develop the capacity to handle those things. When you're in a narcissistic relationship, there's no room. There is really no true emotional intimacy. There's a lot of future faking. There's a lot of makeups, periods. There's a lot of highs, and they're also punctuated by a lot of really low lows. And so what happens is that you live on that roller coaster ride long enough, and you start recognizing that as normal. You know logically that it's not normal, but your subconscious and your nervous system habituate itself to like, this is normal. This is what relationship looks like. You're not walking around saying that every day. You don't wake up in the mirror and brush your teeth and go, I want to be in a toxic roller coaster relationship. That's my definition of love. What happens is that if you start dating, you will often find that you're not meeting Prince Charming right out of the gate. You find that you're still in the same familiar pattern. And this is not meaning that you're failing. It actually means that you're on the right track. Because if you keep finding people who are inconsistent in some ways, or you find that you start dating somebody who is consistent and all of a sudden you feel like you should be happy, but instead you feel overwhelmed, that's an indicator that you have stuff that just simply needs to be recognized, to be held compassionately, to be processed, and to be released so that you have choice, the opportunity to make an empowering choice from a place of love and courage versus a place of fear. So when you're protecting your peace, like love, like I said before, you're removing yourself from the opportunity to develop capacity for emotional intimacy. Your capacity for that is naturally low if you experience psychological abuse. And whenever it's like going to the gym. I use this analogy a lot. It's like going to the gym. You don't start with 30-pound weights. You start with 5-pound weights, or you start with 10-pound weights. That's like your emotional capacity for intimacy. When you exit a toxic relationship, you don't have a lot. And is it comfortable progressing from 5-pound weights to 30-pound weights or even 50-pound weights? No, it's uncomfortable. And it's the same thing that applies when you begin the journey of opening yourself to emotional intimacy. It's not comfortable. It's really uncomfortable at first. I don't even know if it ever becomes truly comfortable. But what changes the more you go in that journey is your capacity to handle it without bolting, without shutting down, without fighting, without picking fights, without self-sabotaging the relationship. And what I often find that happens with a lot of women who build peaceful lives after a narcissistic marriage or a narcissistic relationship is that they find they're living a very small life. They find that they guilt trip themselves. I should feel happy for everything I have. I've got a lot going for me. Why am I not happy? They cope with that quiet sense of unhappiness in a variety of unhealthy ways. They might turn to work and become a workaholic. I see this all the time. Workaholism is one of the top coping strategies I see, and I've also experienced this myself. Working all the time, having a bunch of different business ideas, taking on new projects at work, feeling like the identity of her career is like the one thing that's holding her up inside. And again, if we're relying on something outside of ourselves to make us feel happy, like if you were with your ex, you probably relied on him to act a certain way so that you could feel happy. But whenever we do that, we are setting ourselves up for failure because we're never learning how to develop and cultivate and sustain a level of inner happiness within ourselves first. And having a sense of inner happiness and inner peace that isn't built on a wall of self-protection is the foundation for creating lasting, sustainable emotional intimacy with another person. So what does it take to create the sense of inner happiness? First and foremost, it takes a willingness to feel your feelings without judgment. It takes a level of acceptance of yourself. When I work with women in the beginning, they are often very good at avoiding themselves. Really good, because they've had to in order to survive the relationships they've chosen. They don't know what they're feeling on any given moment, or if they do feel something, they automatically judge it, or they don't like it, or they don't want to feel it. And so they do something in that moment to take themselves out of being present for themselves. They get on their phone, they shop, they dive into a work project, they go shopping. Some people turn to food or alcohol to numb that feeling. And the first thing that you have to get really good at is being present with what you're feeling and learning to accept the feelings that are coming up without judgment. And this is the baseline or the basis of learning how to be emotionally regulated. Once you start getting some practice in with, I'm feeling this right now, I know what I'm feeling, then you can start catching yourself in the moments when you want to react, when you want to default to an old pattern like people pleasing or giving somebody another chance, where deep down you know in your gut and in your heart, this probably isn't the right path for you. But you can catch yourself in those moments and make a different choice and be with yourself, be with those feelings in the moment. And this learning to be with yourself, learning to be with your feelings without judgment, learning to allow feelings to come up. You know, if you've had a bad relationship or a narcissistic marriage and you're out in the dating world, you're probably meeting a lot of frustration. And the truth is that dating is frustrating. It's painful at times. It brings up all of your stuff. But I see far too many people giving up too soon, quitting early, they reach challenges. There's this like analogy, like the first thing that happens when you set out for your dream, the first person you're going to meet is fear, not keep on. I think that's from Brianna Wiest. The Mountain Is You. I think that's her book. So if you find that you're avoiding your feelings, the first way and the most accessible way of learning how to develop emotional intimacy and cultivate a healthy relationship with another human being is learning how to be with your own feelings in a non-judgmental, accepting way. And then you can begin focusing on, okay, I can do this by myself. When I'm by myself, I'm with myself. And then sharing that energy, showing up differently in your current existing relationships with your kids. And a lot of times when I work with people, they not automatically, but soon they see shifts in the relationships with their kids. All of a sudden, they're getting along better with a parent that they're taking care of who has narcissistic tendencies. All of a sudden, the coworker that they work with who drives them crazy isn't driving them crazy anymore. And it isn't because these people are changing. It's because she's changing how she's showing up to that relationship. And once you start getting more practice in those arenas, you're working on yourself, you're noticing close relationships that you currently have starting to shift, then it's a good opportunity. It's typically a good time to start practicing in the dating arena where you're most likely going to be triggered. It's going to bring up all of your old stuff again. So if this made sense for you, I want to say that protecting your peace is noble and it's very warranted after abuse. But there's a difference between protecting your peace and allowing yourself to be so good at protecting your peace that you aren't pursuing your life anymore. Life isn't happening for you anymore. It just feels kind of dull. And whenever we protect our thing, we get so good at protecting our things from bad stuff happening, we inadvertently create a wall where nothing good or loving or happy can come in either. And those are the moments that truly change your life. If you would like more information, if you've had a lot of therapy, and you're like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what am I missing? I have a free training that walks you through the 5 steps or the 5 shifts that you can start implementing today to begin seeing some perhaps incremental changes in your life. You can go to BethanyDotson.com/training. And then if you are curious about having an honest conversation about changing your life, exploring the possibility of working together, you've reached a point where you're like, I can't keep doing this anymore. I'm sick of my own shit. I know that I'm standing in my own way. I just can't see what I'm doing that's causing I want to be different. I want this in my life in the next 12 months, but I have no idea how to get there. And I want somebody to help me in this journey. Then go to BethanyDotson.com/talk and set up a free initial discovery call. That is all for now, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.